All right, we are recording. Hi, we have Mehernez here. She's going to talk to us about the energy. I'm so excited. Take it away, Mehernez.
Thank you. Thanks, Nanette, for having me today. So we are in a very, very strong energetic portal of the first of the 3 eclipses during this eclipse season. So what has been happening with the whole ascension process is astrologically, and I'll primarily give you the astrological perspective because I'm primarily an astrologer, is that I haven't seen such strong astrological alignments for a very long time. They started getting stronger in 2019, and 2019 was that Pluto retrograde, which was that entire energy of rebirth, like death and rebirth, so transformation. And we were all transforming, kind of getting ready to be on board for the 2020 shift. And in 2020, they are the strongest portal. So when I say a strong portal, what I'm trying to say is that we seeing so many planets in retrograde together, seeing strong alignments, such as like when Uranus entered Taurus in 2019, and Taurus is literally Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, and Nanette and I are both Tauruses, so we feel that shift strongly. And Uranus is this planet that brings sudden shifts, but at the same time it brings inspiration. So it literally shook the planet, or started preparing for the shaking or the changing of an era. And that was in 2019. It came and went for a little while and then entered back around the end of the year, and it's now there. Then we had Pluto in Capricorn, which when that started, the solar eclipse that started in December is when COVID began. And usually the effects of the eclipses last for 6 months. So 6 months later, we're in June and everyone's kind of coming out of it. In a sense, like people are just now like, okay, whatever it is, we're going to start living our lives normally and adapting to this new world the way it is. And we can no longer live in confinement kind of thing. So that's when an eclipse's effect usually ends. But they, so the difference is, a lunar eclipse like today is just a full moon, but it's the effects of it is are like an exaggerated full moon. And full moons are all about release and endings, and especially when it's a lunar eclipse, it's that emotional ending. And then when it's followed by a solar eclipse, which it will be on June 21st, that will bring back the new beginnings, because it's the new moon effect exaggerated. And then the effects that solar eclipse brings will last for, or whatever cycle it starts, will last for another, until the next eclipse. So, but we have 3 eclipses. So we have another one on July 5th. So this is going to be interesting because the solar eclipse's effect will only last till July 5th. And that is what's going to start the new cycle, the 3rd one. So that is another thing. We're bang in the middle of 2020, the year of the shift. We have 3 major eclipses. So this is the peak of the shift, as peak can get, in terms of, but I still feel like this is the beginning of the beginning, because like around 2150, 2200 is where it will be absolute peak in terms of, but this is beginning to start the process. So, it's the change is beginning, which can get a little uncomfortable for a lot of us, and for those of us who are ready to go with that, we're just, so overall, what eclipses usually do is that they, anything that's going to happen anyway, they just quicken that. So for instance, if you were thinking of, say, ending a job or a relationship or anything like that, you were thinking about doing it, it'll just hasten that process. It'll just, like, if you're thinking about it like 8 to 10 months down, it'll do it right away. So it can be shocking and it can be jolting for a lot of people, but it's really just taking you into the second stepping stone of your destiny. It's like, why delay? Let's start the process now. So lunar eclipses do that clearing out. Now, this particular lunar eclipse, although also has not only many planets in retrograde, including the Venus retrograde that's going on, and in Venus retrograde, what it is the planet of love retrogrades always make people look inward. So it's about self-love and about creating borders within relationships in such a way that we acknowledge ourselves and our self-love, or even the relationships and the things we value around us. Like we're creating very concrete, parameters so that we can honor ourselves. So that's what Venus retrograde brings. So it's not a very lovey-dovey type of energy. It's more like putting your foot down kind of energy with Venus retrograde. So even though it's Venus, but it's still in retrograde. And while that has been there for an entire month, like it's been ongoing, now with this eclipse, it squares Mars. So the sun, there's a sun square Mars, and what that means is Mars, our god of war, and when he is angry, that's when all of these things come out. Now the way it affects Gaia on a macro level is the same way it affects us internally. So a lot of us may be going through this transformational period where we are putting our foot down, or if that does not resonate with whoever else that we are doing this with, towards, it will cause a little bit of a split, or whatever you want to call it, and then that results in the endings that full moon amplified brings, or the lunar eclipse brings, and it goes your own way. So this is that clearing, cleansing time. But with everything happening on Gaia, it's all about justice. We're no longer going to tolerate this anymore. However, because of the Mars square, it gets amplified to an extent where, yes, but in the process, just look at what you're causing. Like, you are trying to stop violence, but you're causing more violence. So there is that, there are other ways to get it done and all of that, but when Mars is in square, it's a little hard to see it that way. So that's why today is a day to pray for Gaia, to calm people's minds, to clear their energies, and also for stronger wisdom to come through, so that such injustice doesn't happen to begin with, so it does not trigger that violence. So that's that Mars energy. And however it is playing out in your own personal lives as well, just be mindful that while you're putting your foot down, that do not take any impulsive action that, if some, and a lot of times the eclipse energy is not what we do. We may be triggered to do it, but it's what happens to us. It's very external, because it's, it's happening to us. So the situations will present themselves, of course, but how you handle them, we always have that choice. We always have our free will. We're always empowered. And that's the most important piece to know, that how we handle it is entirely up to us, because it will set its tone for the next few months. It'll have a long-lasting effect. And so use that energy well. Now, apart from the craziness, let me come to the good part. The good part is that we have Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is our spiritual planet. Like, anytime Neptune comes through, it's a funny guy, but he's very, he's very, very strong, because he's the spiritual planet, and he's our connection to God and spirit, and he's in Pisces, which is the most watery. It's in in its own home sign. So this also brings a lot of energy of the water that combines with that Mars energy of fire. So while there's all this fire going on, there's so much energy of creativity, spiritual downloads, creating new things, creation overall. So there's a very, very strong energy. If you're in the process of creating anything, this is the time when you're going to get very powerful information coming through in order to be able to process it. It's not the most practical energy. Like, it's hard to finish up your taxes and all that when there's Neptune in Pisces, but it almost is like that energy where you can stay for hours, in your own drum circle mode, or in your meditative state. So it's really a good time to take time off for divination as much as possible, because the connections are going to be so powerful and strong. And if you utilize that Mars energy of fire in your creation, then you'll get to utilize that mojo by creating something brand new. So that would be a nice way to utilize that Mars energy that's in there. And then to add to that, we have Jupiter. And Jupiter is kind of making a nice little um, angle with Pluto. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of higher learning, of travel. Even right now we're all kind of stuck indoors, but a lot of people may be feeling the itch to kind of travel, even if it is to go to a park, or that energy is there because it's that Jupiter coming out and pushing through. But it is that higher learning and that higher knowledge that is coming through very powerfully with the Pluto alignment. And you can again use that in that creation process, in that process of connecting to spirit. So it's just such a lovely day for meditating, for circles, for using it for your new creation. And that's probably the best way to utilize this lunar eclipse energy. And we actually are, as we're speaking, we're in the eclipse energy, because 4 p.m. Central is when it ends. So it started around 1:45 Central, and now, then it went peaked at 2:30, and now it's just coming down and settling in. And a couple of things to know during the eclipse period itself is, if you have any leftover cooked food from before the eclipse, it's a good time to donate that food, or just even feed it to the animals, or just the fishes or whatever. But it's not, it's best to release, because when a lunar eclipse happens, I mean, we are it was daytime for us, so we were not as affected as the countries where it was nighttime. But generally there's some the environmental processes work in such a way that things kind of tend to rot quicker that are exposed outside, especially if they were not put inside away or covered. And it's best that if there is any leftover cooked food from before the eclipse or from yesterday, to kind of release that and make something fresh. In India, we used to have a process where we would donate after the eclipse, like to any poor. But I mean, right now with COVID, it's like, where do you go to even do that? But yeah, so little things like that, and just spend time in quiet meditation, use new water, new food, and through that energy of renewal after that 4 p.m. time passes. So that's pretty much all I had.
I mean, that was excellent. You validated. I did a channeling video with Beth the other day, and the same type of stuff came out in the channeling. The same. It's time for endings and beginnings. And I wanted to add to it. Sometimes the endings are just things like mental issues, that not that your mental things that have been weighing you down, and you've been wanting to get that off your chest, or situations that you don't know what to do with. A lot of times it'll just lift away for you during this time period. And what else did you say that I wanted to add? I just think, like you said, we all have free will, right? And use this time for whatever you want to, or don't. I mean, you can use this time and create a whole new life for yourself. It's up to you, right? And also, I want to point out the fact, that time is not linear. So you can tap into these lunar eclipse energies at any point. You just know it. It's there. You know what it's for. You can tap into it, and you can use it in your meditation or in whatever you're trying to create. As long as you're aware of the portals, I think they're always kind of available. I've done that. I usually go in ahead of time into a portal and steal the energy and start using it. So I think it's a good idea to, kind of keep that in mind. But
I
do you have
the point that you're making? Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, Totally. Definitely, time isn't linear.
Yes. And a lot of things, I think there's a lot of people that are on the spiritual path, and there are things that I have a lot of friends who are, and there's things that they kind of keep putting off. And these energies, they will push you to face them. They push you to deal with them. It's just one of those things. Now you can always, with free will and with your own will, you can move yourself out of it, or you can use it. I think it's always smart to use an energy. Always smart. To your own advantage. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, yeah. And we're just in the beginning, Now we officially started eclipse season today, and it's gonna last until the beginning of July. So like, here they are, the portals, like, use them, use the energy well, just be mindful. Another thing that tends to happen during some eclipses is types of natural, like hurricanes and stuff like that also sometimes happen. So again, send a lot of healing to Mother Gaia. Send as much collective healing as you can, because here it is. What eclipses come here to do is, when you're not learning your lessons, they'll come do a cleanup. But we can always use that in a gentle way. It doesn't have to be, so like, send your collective prayers and really use the time productively and well, and be mindful of the Mars square, and don't just ensure that you do it mindfully. Whatever you speak is mindful. Maybe like double check and triple check a text before you hit send when someone triggers you.
I was talking about that with my sister not that long ago, when you accidentally send a text to the wrong person, and you're like, oh my God, yes, I can't get that back. You can't take a text back. It's so embarrassing. My mouth. I have to really be careful.
I hear you go.
Oh God. Well, I'm going to stop recording then if you're done, and then I'll put it up. And all right. Thank you so much, Mehernez. I loved it. That was excellent. Thank you.
So good. So good.
Oh, I always do that.